The Cubs destroy the Pirates yesterday and are now back to 500. It was a huge game all around. Jamison Tyone pitched. Dansby Swanson hit a grand slam. Pete Crow-Armstrong and Miguel Amaya continued to play awesome baseball. We're going to talk about that and more on this edition of the Cubs Baseball Channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Get in that comment section. Let us know how you're feeling about this team after they curb stomped the Pirates last night. Here's your invitation to our show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Cubs Baseball Channel. My name's Anthony Pasquale. He is Mick Gillespie. You can find us on Twitter. Mick is at Broadcaster Mick, and you can find me at Ant_Pasquale3. Cubs with a huge outing yesterday. One of those games that's just really good for the run differential. Everybody on the bench gets in on the action. The Cubs destroyed the Pirates yesterday, Mick.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, we've been talking about the young players stepping up, and Pete Crow-Armstrong, another great game. I mean, he's flying all over the field. You guys are seeing it now. You know, some of you guys get in the comments and hammer me for being a Pete Crow-Armstrong fan. I'm a Pete Crow-Armstrong fan. I've seen this before. I'm not surprised that he's doing it. Is it going to be forever? I don't know. But at least you are getting a taste of what this guy's all about, whether it's power, speed, the ability to steal bases, making great plays in the outfield. He's a spark. They had him leading off, which I think's the future for this team. So really great seeing Hollywood Pete. And then the other guy, and I didn't know he could play this well, is Miguel Amaya. I mean, I've never been on the Miguel Amaya train, but I'm getting there. Look, the guy just continue to play like this, man. I mean, prove people like me wrong, because I just had never seen this before. But he's hitting the ball. I'm sure he probably felt his big league career was in jeopardy, because it was in jeopardy, and it still is. But when you play like that, like there's a fire underneath of you, and you get some big hits and you do good behind the plate, hey, you have the opportunity to learn and grow, and he's doing that. So those two young guys have been really fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it forever. The easiest way to stay on the team and on the field is to hit the ball. And Miguel Amaya has been sensational over the last month plus. He tallied another 3 hits yesterday. His season batting average is up to 240. Like, remember when it was 198? He's up 42 percentage points in like a month and a half. His OPS is only 6 points below Nico Horner. Like, this is a guy that turned in from one of the worst hitters in baseball to being a league average bat in about a month. And in that month, he's been playing like an all-star. It's been awesome to watch. And it definitely opens up the conversation for catcher next year. Like, this is a guy, if he's playing like this, that you'd be very comfortable with penciling into your lineup next year. And then Pete Crow-Armstrong, Hollywood Pete, as you've coined him, was great again. He just looks like he belongs out there. But I wanted to talk about this. The Cubs were running all over the place. It wasn't just Pete Crow-Armstrong. He did set the tone. He had 3 steals, but the Cubs had 2 for me in Happ. Seiya Suzuki had 1. Cody Bellinger had 1. It's their most stolen bases in a game since 1913. So that just goes to show how easy it is to steal bases off of Yasmani Grandal, huh?
Right. And what's crazy to me is just watching how big league catchers aren't very good at throwing out base runners anymore. You know, and I think that it's because the game, when they were coming up, really wasn't about speed. Now that they've made it to where, you know, you can only throw over there twice and the bases are bigger, it's made it a lot easier for players to run, and they're doing it, and they're getting better at it, and it's become harder on the catchers. So you get a catcher that can actually throw these guys out, you got something. And we're just seeing, I mean, basically base runners run wild.
Yeah, that's what it was. And to give the Pirates some credit, they also stole a decent amount of bases on Amaya yesterday. But the Cubs were running like a carousel around the bases. They had Pete Crow-Armstrong getting active. He scored on a double from Miguel Amaya that if Amaya took the pitch, he would have had his 4th steal of the game, which would obviously be a career high in his young career. But all the offense was really capped off in the 8-run 6th inning, thanks to a grand slam from Dansby Swanson. It was probably the hardest ball that we've seen him hit in a Cubs uniform, and he watched it for a little bit. That's how you knew he got a hold of that one, and that added on quite a bit of runs to give the Cubs an 11-2 lead at the time. good to see Dansby get in on the action with a swing like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he hasn't hit this year. He's been one of the biggest disappointments, and I think his lack of play, at least at the plate, is one of the reasons why the Cubs aren't going to make the playoffs, because he's paid to produce. You know, he's not paid to be the ninth hitter. I mean, they need somebody like him to be about the third spot, or, you know, somewhere up top, driving him runs and getting on base, and he hasn't done that. But when he does, it's amazing that the team wins. I mean, I'd argue that he's the most pivotal guy on the team, and good to see him swinging the bat.
Yeah, it's huge whenever you get everybody involved, and that's just another game, um, adding it on the list of like the last 2 weeks that when the Cubs win, it's because the bottom of the order has been playing much better. Like you look, Dansby Swanson, it's a grand slam in the 7th hole. Crow-Armstrong has 2 hits and 3 steals in the 8th hole, and Miguel Amaya goes 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs out of the 9 hole. Like that makes your team really freaking good if you get that type of production out of 7, 8, and 9.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's what's been fun about this run that they've been on. It hasn't been the guys at the top of the lineup. It's been the bottom of the lineup, which has been a drag on the Cubs most of the season, that is producing. I mean, you're getting some offense out of the catcher spot. That hadn't happened. You're seeing Dansby Swanson get some hits. The problem that with this team, though, is, you know, they'll have a game like that, and then, you know, Sunday they can't score. You know, they've got to be more consistent down the line, particularly against these teams that aren't any good. So it's great to see it, but you can't win 2 out of 3. You got to win all 3, and the way you do that is that it's not a 1 or a 2 day thing. This is just how we play.
Exactly. And but with the win yesterday, the Cubs do get back to 500 on the season. We've been rooting for them to get to this mark. Now it's time to get above that mark. And
Yeah.
the Cubs will have a chance to do that tonight against the Pirates. Same game time as yesterday. Jared Jones will be activated off the injured list to start for Pittsburgh. He's 5-6 on the year with a 3.56 ERA. And the Cubs have their ace on the bump, Justin Steele, going up against the Pirates. He's 4-5 with a 3.07 ERA. I will say it feels like Steele has kind of struggled with the Pirates a little bit, because he's not a big strikeout guy. He's a pitch to contact guy, and the Pirates are a good contact team. So they've had some success against him in the past, but Steele's on a roll a little bit in the last couple starts. So hopefully he can keep that going at PNC Park.
Yeah, and I'd love to see it too. I mean, he's been one of the most consistent players on the Cubs the last couple of years. I think he's a building block for the future. Sometimes teams just kind of have you figured out a little bit, and that's when you got to mix things up and you know, figure out another way to trick them.
Absolutely. And then a quick look at Wednesday's contest. It's the slow pitching old guy against the young flamethrower, Kyle Hendricks against Paul Skeens. So we'll preview that one tomorrow, hopefully when we're talking about another Cubs W to get them up over 500 for the first time since June. But for now, thank you guys so much for coming to the Cubs baseball channel to chop it up and talk some Cubs after a huge win against the Pirates yesterday. Make sure to like and subscribe. Stay in that comment section and follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok. But for now, go Cubs.